Alright, we've got 3 packages. This evil one where we know not to use not to use scissors because this hidden styrofoam. But let's see. It's packed. And it's probably nice to have that on DVD. I mean, not that I would say it's necessarily a good series, as in like beloved or anything like that, but yeah, I should just open all of these up so we can just start getting through this, because we're already this late. I mean, for y'all, it's not late, it's just, yeah, well, anyways, it's late for me. I kind of been slow moving all day, all night. And I guess before we go with those, I did finally pick up a Zelda Skyward Sword HD. You know, just in case I decide to play that version. It's lower priority than... Alright. Art. Although there's an E at the end. I don't think it'd be pronounced Arte. Then again, you never know with oh my god, my brain is so blanking. Regions A and B, English dub. Watch this determined artist overcome all obstacles to pursue her dreams. Okay. So it is art. Very artsy spelling of art. That plastic did not float in a very useful direction at all. Like, normally I try to keep all my trash over there because it makes it a lot easier to clean up. Let's see. The complete season. Disc 1 and Disc 2. If there's any complaint I have about this, it's that I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I know she's trying to do art, but I kind of am not getting a very strong feeling about what exactly that means in terms of the type of story it is. Is it an uplifting one about how she gets through stuff? Is it, you know, like it could be something like Ascendance of a Bookworm, where it's just like maybe because she's a source of art that people weren't expecting that would be neat to see that build up or something like that. I don't know. Let's continue on. This is this should be part 2. Yeah, it says part 2 right there of Plunderer. There we go. I was trying to think. It's like Thunderer? No. And you may recall, I thought it kind of began a little weak, because it's like, okay, well, we're going to have this strange premise, but regions A and B, English dub, the layer count dropped to 0. Like, they introduce this thing, but then it just doesn't make sense why any of the people act the way they do, given that that's the kind of world that they're trying to establish. And a big part of the problem was just that they had to find an excuse to introduce us to some of the rules. But it also kind of meant that it was hard to take the first episode serious at all, because like, okay, even if you're introducing her, which, you know, it's a good idea. Have somebody that lives in this world with these rules but doesn't know what they are because she's been living in the mountains. You know, that's not a bad idea. But it just becomes a problem when they kind of make it out that she's been traveling around to a lot of other places, and since absolutely everybody in the world, that's DVDs and Blu-rays. So yeah, that's Blu-ray 1, 2, and DVD 1. Or, I say 1 and 2, but it's actually 3 and 4. What the fuck is this? I don't remember anything about this being school life-y at all. But you even had bad guys just kind of misbehaving in certain situations. It's like, if you were living with these rules, that would actually mean something to you. Oh well. Diary of Our Days at the Breakwater. Complete season. Okay. I was wondering if she was holding a gun and that was military, but no. It's a school uniform, yes, but they're fishing. Oh yeah, that's a fish right there. I couldn't see it because it registered in my brain as a cloud. You know, that's just a silly giga. Looking at the back, lots of regions A+B, very importable for catch of the day, friendship. So it does look to be a little cute girls doing cute things, and you know that comes with its what the fuck? And that comes with its risks and benefits. I'm not sure where this lies on my hypothetical list of where I would put things that I might watch. So yeah, Mahoraba. This one I kind of remember because, well, the characters are college students, and you know they're still drawn very chibi. Also, I think around the time that I had downloaded and watched this, near the start when I was first buying DVDs near my first job, so maybe that was around 2005 to 2006. I also got Mahoraba Blu-ray. It's very people. When it comes to Kozue, one's a crowd. I think that was actually maybe her. Was it something where like I'm trying to remember. More surprised when he discovers has multiple personalities. Okay, yeah, if they say it on the back. I didn't want to say it out loud because I didn't remember if that was a first episode reveal or not. But yeah. And I don't remember it enough to say whether or not I would consider it good. I think I already mentioned that, but I'm glad to finally see it come out on home video here in the States. I've probably been waiting for it for 15 years. Should probably find out if there's anything else I'm waiting for. City Hunter 2, Set 1, Episodes 1 through 38. Speaking of something that I should do, I really ought to watch some City Hunter. It's, I think a title that's just been around for a long time. I think it's a classic. Looks like this is subtitled only. Continues to stalk the most dangerous game when he's not trying to pick up women. I mean, that doesn't necessarily sound bad, it just doesn't sound like my thing, but then again, you know, this kind of makes me think it's a little more of a goofy try to pick up women sort of thing, and not something that's, oh, yeah, this is about girls, guns, cars, stuff like that. Like, it kind of gives me slight Golden Boy vibes. Not that I think it's the same as that. Golden Boy kind of had its thing that it was doing, but I don't know. If you haven't seen Golden Boy, there's at least one clip that you can enjoy, and that's the part where he, like, so, how do you like my swimming? I think some people prefer the English dub for that one. Ah, Black Rock Shooter TV series. So obviously I imported the Japanese release a long time ago, it seems like. And because the Japanese Blu-ray plays just perfectly fine on Blu-ray players here in the States, and because, yes, it's always nice if there's different covers on the inside. You know, basically, I'm not sure if this is terribly needed, except that looks like it has an English dub. What If Love Was Actually a Battlefield? Featuring an all-new English dub. So that definitely makes it worthwhile to get this, even though I had the Japanese version. But I still would have wanted to get it. Wait a second. This is the complete TV series. Text is too small, so I'm going to hold it up to the camera. Video. 9 episodes on one disc. Or is that 8? Damn it. My eyesight is definitely not always so great, is it? I really like the opening to this one. There's something about it that's a little formulaic, but it mostly works out. Next we have Fighting General Daimos, which I guess I'm tempted to call it a Transformer. It has a very Transformer kind of vibe to it. The robot does. And I do wonder what makes me think that, because it's not that it's necessarily wrong. What the hell is that face? That's a funny face. Voltus V. Not that I know that. Oh, wait. Down here. It's probably subtitle only. Yeah, that's what I'd expect. And, you know, I really do appreciate the fact that this company, this is Eastern Star Discotheque, right? Since today is August 2nd, that means that last Tuesday was the last day of the month, which usually means a ton of Eastern Star Discotheque stuff. And I really do appreciate the fact that they bring us a lot of anime that, you know, a lot of other companies would overlook. You know, and I do hope that they make a good living based off this. What did I want? I think I wanted to look at that and see how many episodes that was. And I can't read it. 44 episodes. Jeez, I can read this. Next up, we have Chihayafuru Season 3. Sentai release. Okay, yeah, we're getting good representation from 3 companies. Well, I say it like I think this is the only Sentai release. I don't remember if there was a limited edition version, but for anybody asking, I tend to skip the limited edition versions from Sentai if they aren't going to be released in a timely manner. This is a complete collection, so 3 discs. Something like that says, I think that's $4.25. 24 episodes. Oh yeah, English dub. Unfortunately, I don't remember where I was in this series. Like, did I only finish season 1, or did I watch half of season 2? There's more season 2 I could watch. I don't know. I do remember enjoying what I had seen. Although, one of the issues with something that goes to 3 seasons for me is it kind of indicates that it's not always as focused on the story as I would prefer. Oh, that lady's not wearing that much clothing, is he? A return of Pycal? What's that red thing he's holding? This is definitely mysterious. Ooh. Very clowny, except that's Lupin, because he's being chased by the cop, I'm guessing. So, the toughest enemies die hard, or is that more like hardly die? I see an English dub. Nope, two Japanese audio sources. Okay. Well, that's why I tend to check. Region A. No surprise, Eastern Star Discotheque tends to not have a very... I don't think they're as universal. Okay, that makes sense. Oh wait, I didn't notice that she was holding a big brown crystal. And right now, I'm getting Vampire Lady vibes from Resident Evil Village. I know that's not necessarily supposed to be the case. But it's still kind of funny to think about it that way. And I don't pretend to know her name. Oh yeah, it's lady something that starts with D. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Okay, let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about Sword Art Online, Alicization, get that out of the way. My friend isn't quite caught up to where I watched until it's like, okay, he's going to watch, I'm going to pause my watching because the show is painful. And a lot of the pain comes from the fact that I want it to be good because, you know, it's not like it doesn't look good. It's not like it doesn't have cool little events that happens and stuff. And I'm curious where the characters are going to go, but it just keeps doing stupid things. And I know my friend's about to get to the part where it's the beginning of the second half of this where the intro changes, and I know what's about to happen is something I would call it the kind of stupid that's kind of the big problem with this, where there's a neat idea there, but it just kind of ruins its own thing by the way it handles it. And you know, that's been a lot of it. You've heard me talk about that. I guess I get to bitch about that every week. Uzaki-chan wants to hang out. And while this show didn't draw me in, it's kind of hard to bitch about it. Let's get the main thing out of the way. The titular character, Uzaki-chan. Yeah, she's... I wasn't quite sure what the words I would use for it were, but fortunately I had plenty of time to think about it. And I would say she's a selfish brat. You know, I was almost wondering if I would say the other B word, but then that was just kind of a knee-jerk, just use that. But the real problem is just that, you know, she's very self-centered, she's very bratty, immature, so it, you know, it comes with the things that are kind of like that. And, you know, it basically means that she doesn't seem to be very cognizant of her actions, she doesn't seem to show a lot of care about the effect they have on other people to the degree other than she likes them. And it's an interesting balance because it's very easy for a character like this to be someone that I absolutely hate, and if I knew her in real life I would not want to hang out with her. I'd probably have actually told her earlier in the series that no, we're just not going to hang out, sorry, it's never going to happen. And a lot of that is a lot of that would really just be that, you know, she has opinions, she's not afraid to say, regardless of whether or not there's any foundation in reality, care for other people's boundaries, etc. But she doesn't step over that to domineer the main character. She doesn't physically attack him like a lot of shows like this would tend to have characters do. So, you know, she doesn't step over that boundary to say, okay, well, this person's just a pathetic piece of shit who should be hung out to dry with the laundry or something horrible like that. And so she's better than that, for sure. So, again, it's really just more... She never quite hooked on me. The main character never quite hooked on me. It's like... Or rather, I'd never hooked on them. And it's interesting because that's pretty much what this series comes down to, is if you like those characters or enjoy seeing what they do, I think you'll like it. And that means it falls actually very relevant to something else I was saying earlier in the video, the cute girls doing cute thing. It's kind of the same problem with a lot of shows like that, where if their personalities just don't happen to intrigue you or something like that, you know, when you boil it down, there's really not a whole lot more to the show than that. It's not like there's a narrative that makes you think, oh, well, if he doesn't get together with her before the end of the series, then the world's going to come to an end. You know, no story things like that. And I think that would be expected. And the humor, although occasionally amusing, has never been something that makes me feel like, okay, if I put on this next episode, I'm going to. But, again... You know, it's been weird because it's also, there's this tendency for shows that create these kind of awkward social situations, where sometimes I'm just like, I just don't have the energy to keep watching this. I've got to do other stuff. The show doesn't quite do that. So, it's weird because, you know, again, I don't feel a strong pressing need to watch it, but I don't feel like I need to move away from it. It's just... I chose to start watching it subtitled.
maybe the dub's okay, I don't know, but since this is a very character-centric show, I think watching it subtitled is the most fair way to go, because that's kind of how you know whether or not you're going to fall in love with the characters or not, right? But the unfortunate thing is, now that I'm watching it subtitled, that means I need to be not doing something else while I'm watching it. So, well, I've spent enough time to get into the second disc, which puts me... I think I've got an hour of show left, so maybe I'm 9 episodes in. You know, even though I've gotten far enough for it to be something like that... Oh, and if you've watched the series, you probably know, because they are about to go to... I don't remember the name of the place, but I do remember there was a lot of Case Closed / Detective Conan stuff on display, which makes me think that it's based on a real-life area that probably has real-life advertising based on that show, and probably means that things happen there, but I don't remember names. But yeah, so there was one episode where they arrive there and you see a lot of that stuff, and I don't know if the next episode includes more of that stuff, but presumably they're out of the touristy area, and I'm actually going to understand a little bit better about why people go on tours there. But yeah, that's how far I made it, and that's a pretty good amount, and I don't know if anything that's arrived today has made me think, oh, well, I should switch away from this and go watch that instead. I'm just looking at the DVDs, and yeah... So I'm probably going to still try to finish this. So, very weird for a review, because, again, there's nothing about it that's hooked me to the point where I couldn't easily be distracted if there was something else. Like, if I didn't think I had to dig out Index Season 3 and then watch Accelerator to watch Scientific Railgun T, you know, that'd probably be a much higher priority. But admittedly, Index 3 was also kind of weird from a narrative standpoint, and sometimes that show can be hit or miss. I think the hits tend to be pretty light, and the misses tend to be pretty light, but the hits tend to be pretty awesome when that happens, so, you know, that's why that would attract me, but I don't know. Very, very strange. So I think for most people, you'll probably have trouble telling whether or not you will like it based on my description of it. Based on... I've heard of the Holy Trinity of, oh, these are girls that tease the main guy character. I don't remember how Teasing Master felt. And I haven't seen that one whose name is Bully, and that's a bit of a mistranslation because she's all about teasing him. And it's kind of tricky because for a lot of those, usually for me it's how the main character responds to that sort of stuff. Which is almost giving me vague feelings of maybe remembering stuff from Teasing Master Person. But for Uzaki, the main guy, he's kind of in my feeling on the way he reacts to some of the stuff. Sometimes he's just making it worse. And I guess it's unfortunate because he kind of reminds me a little bit of the main character from Toradora, where I think the idea is, you know, they kind of have... They might have some similarities in personality, but they're definitely also portrayed as, oh, these are people that people look at them, and because they have a certain stern look to their face, and I'm not sure that stern is the right look, but might get the idea across. They would think that the person was maybe potential Yakuza or something like that. You know, the feeling of, oh, maybe that's a bad person. And, you know, they are cool. And the main character from Uzaki is, you know, it feels like he had some potential as being I could kind of understand. He expresses some of the enjoyment of being alone, but he doesn't handle some of the challenges to that in a very good way. So he's not as entertaining or interesting in that regard. So in certain ways, I guess you could say that maybe there's an issue with Uzaki-chan, the show, and that it's trying to break some of that down. which kind of reminds me of other things I've heard of the show, but I'm 95% certain those things were actually joke articles, because if they were serious, they were pretty dumb. I mean, I hate to use the word dumb, but like maybe it wouldn't be the articles that were dumb. Maybe if the original creator did intend that thing that I thought I remembered that an article maybe said, it would indicate that the main creator was dumb. But since I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it was said, and I don't know if it was real, I guess this is more of a weird side thought. Because other than that, what's worth talking about? Video game stuff. My video games have been pretty light. I did fire up Monster Hunter Rise enough to get the sunglasses and to complete the Okami armor for the Palamute. Or to get credit for that quest, I mean. I didn't want to actually change my Palamute because, gosh darn it, I did character design at the very beginning of the game, so I can just have a Palamute that looks like the one I created. Like the one I put time into. But drifting. Mostly I've just been hanging out. I've been able to do some VR chat stuff. I'm not sure if I would say what I've created is necessarily new, so much as things that I've always been thinking that I've been needing to do to just kind of maintain my currently existing avatars. Oh, I can talk about Rick and Morty, can't I? Because I hadn't watched the episode that was available last week, but I have watched it since, and the one that was officially released Sunday is the one that I had already seen before because it was accidentally leaked in Canada, and I got to see that. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Once again, Season 5 kind of shows this problem, and I'm not sure that's necessarily a problem, but it is something that seems to be maybe somewhat of a weakness for Season 5, where it tends to have a lot of episodes that build up to over-the-top sort of stuff. Like, it doesn't stay kind of small, thready. It's like it builds up to something. There's a lot of Season 5 episodes doing that, including the Gotron one that aired yesterday. And so, the Thanksgiving one, you know, despite all that stuff, it's actually fun with some fun moments in it. A lot of these episodes have been fun. I know that thing is something people aren't too happy about per se, but I don't know. I know it's something that could cause people to complain, but I don't know that a lot of people have been complaining. And I would say if they are, then the show's intentionally pokey, not teasy, but it does try to get reactions out of you, so you should expect stuff like that, and ultimately you should kind of enjoy it for the fact that the show's intentionally doing something to try and insult you, and it's a little insulting. And so, as long as you kind of understand the show's doing that, it's amusing. I just don't know if maybe some media outlets have been trying to stir up controversy which isn't there for most people. And I didn't really think about that until I just started talking about it now. So, the contents of the episode itself, again, it's a build-up episode. That's what I'm referring to most of these Season 5 episodes, where it just builds up to some sort of huge conflict. And I do like the preview for the next episode, because it does seem to be setting up one that isn't one of these big build-up, lots of things happening sorts of episodes. Which might mean it's going to be a little more narratively focused. And that's what a lot of people are speculating. These next 3 episodes that are going to come out, apparently all of the clips from the previews for this season have now been accounted for. Everything is there, and so these next 3 episodes are completely unknown. Nobody knows what will be there, and I guess we'll find out. And I've heard some of the speculations, but I guess for y'all, you probably will just get the general impression, and if y'all have been putting off watching Season 5, then maybe I'll be saying sometime soon whether or not it as a season is worthwhile. Because otherwise, I mean, if you have been putting it off, I'd say you could still watch it. It's not that it's bad episodes, or at least none that I feel like. I mean, I feel like some are weaker than others, but, you know, they still do funny, wacky things. I think that the show has just forgotten that one of the things that made Rick and Morty really interesting is it was based on that Simpsons clip where the guy's trying to ask the kids what they want Itchy and Scratchy to do in the cartoons, where wacky, off-the-wall adventures, or do you want to see them tackle real-life problems? Rick and Morty is historically been a good series because, you know, not only is there the narrative stuff that I've talked about before, but it does introduce both of those things in a way that's more realistic. We're talking about more realistic than these weird attempts by Masters of the Universe revelations to do something where it's just like, I'm trying not to spoil it here, and I've not watched it myself, but I don't think there's any confusion about what actually happens, and there's some bad characterization in there where it's like, you can't really treat that as a real thing because they're having to ignore this other very real thing that's happening right in front of them, which would have been more interesting, but it wouldn't have led them down the narrative path they were trying to go. So they conveniently ignore it, and I don't want to say more in case anybody wanted it to watch and spoil. I don't respect the show, but I respect y'all enough to not spoil a show that maybe y'all were hoping to watch. Which, you know, I guess reaches the point where I'm not sure what I've been doing. Because video game wise, I've been doing more VR chat avatar maintenance. I already mentioned that. And I didn't really mention what that means, but it does mean kind of making my ability to use my avatar, my own avatar, much more flexibly. And I guess an end result product of that from this weekend is I made my first Quest fallback avatar. And so the idea is the Oculus Quest is a VR capable headset, but it's a little lower powered than a lot of the other VR options out there. It has the ability to get around some of that stuff by eventually hooking to a PC and then working with the PC and things like that. But when it's just standalone, it's not. And if you've never used VR chat, Quest users are, I'd call them an integral part of the community, mostly because there's probably a lot more people using Quest than people not using Quest. It can be hard to tell for certain because you hang around in certain groups and, you know, if people are there in VR long enough, then they invest in the equipment so that their Quest is being used by the PC, so it's no longer them showing up as a Quest user. Their hardware is a little underpowered, but it's not like any more underpowered than certain other underpowered VR options out there. So, you know, they are just a natural part of that. But, you know, you put all that aside, this basically means that the lower specs of the Quest mean that VR chat kind of has two communities that coexist at the same time. And it's going to be hard to tell, and it's good that it can be hard to tell because people who create worlds, basically when you create a world or an avatar, you upload two different copies to two different servers. They have the same ID, so when a PC user says, oh, give me ID number 15, it gives the PC version, or when they say, give me ID number 15, and their Quest user gets the Quest version. But ultimately, if the creator did some things right, then the experience for both people could be pretty similar. You know, the Quest, maybe they've decreased the polygons, or maybe they've lowered the textures, or things like that. My one VR chat world, I mean, technically I have a second one that's a very rough 3D scan of my apartment. It looks horrible. Very entertaining. If you ever get to see it, I think you'll have to laugh. But my one VR chat world, the only difference at this point between the PC and the Quest version is the PC version uses a slightly different shader for its NPCs, and they also have dynamic bones, which is something that's normally off on Quest avatars. Could have been on, but it was a performance hit, so I'm like, yeah, okay, so I'll make it where the NPCs look like the avatar that the Quest users would be using, so, you know, that's a nice consistency. And, you know, don't need to do dynamic bones. But everything else is the same. So, you know, that's really nice for Quest users. I think that's why a lot of Quest users will show up in my world. And I'm just talking about like random people whenever my world just gets on the radar as, oh, this updated recently or something like that. And avatars are kind of the same thing I was describing. You have funny things where you can upload two completely different avatars. So, like, there was one where the PC user had a sexy anime girl. Those are very common in VR chat. And the Quest version was a... I was tempted to say ugly Japanese guy, but I don't know that he's Japanese. And I don't think he's actually ugly. I think he's just, you know, not sexy. So, you know, and that's the way the reality is usually it's some guy that's in the female avatars that are all over the place. There's plenty of girls there, but, you know, the reality is plenty of guys dressed like sexy girls on there as well. And so this means Quest users and PC users see a different thing there. And Quest Fallback is one of the things that VRChat introduced to kind of help deal with the problem that there are plenty of avatars that are PC only. There's also some that are Quest only, but usually you can just upload the Quest one on PC. So that one's usually just that those makers don't know how to do that or don't want to spend the time to do that. Maybe they don't like PC users, or maybe it's just they don't have a lot of time. And it could be hard, but what happens is if you have a PC-only avatar, you can have something called a Quest fallback so that Quest users, instead of seeing a robot that says this is not supported on Quest, you get to see instead another avatar. And that basically means that because it's a fallback, VRChat has a lot of restrictions. So you have to have a good or an excellent performance for the avatar. That meant that I had to cut out over 50% of the polygons on my avatar, which was not easy, because sometimes it feels like, wow, this thing actually has 23,000 polygons. It doesn't feel like it. I mean, it's not like it's super complicated, or super simple, but it's also simple enough that sometimes it feels like it should be that. And that was one of the things I did over the weekend. That was a very long story to say, yeah, I created an avatar with, you know, I deleted a lot of stuff that weren't necessary, like the ribbon coming off the side. Well, there's not going to be any dynamic bones on the Quest version anyway, so don't need that at all. You know, just the one around the waist. And let's see, things like, oh, the rings on the fingers. Well, we can reduce the number of polygons for those. The rings stay on the avatar because they are pretty iconic for her. Some of the interesting things. So obviously hair can have a lot of polygons, and I've reduced some of those, but I didn't even think about how many polygons the avatar had for its ears, and I was able to gain a lot of polygon, you know, get rid of a lot by doing that. Buttons, other circular things kind of had more polygons to make them look a little more round, but they didn't need to look as round as they were looking, so I was able to kind of reduce some of that stuff. You know, all over the place. Since the avatar has a dress, you don't really need most of the underside of the dress, just the part of the legs that would stick out. And since most people aren't going to be staring at your legs, you know, reduce the polygons in those as well. And I did it all these kind of operations all over the place, and I managed to get it down to just under 10,000. So that was pretty cool. It's not perfect, but yay. And as a part of doing that, you know, I'm re-exercise and thinking about a whole lot of my capabilities, what I can do in Blender, and I have some stuff I plan to do in the future. Maybe this will result in me actually working on and uploading another world. Or, you know, I'll get burnt out again and, you know, not do that. But we'll have to see. Alright, there we go. I've babbled beyond my observation that I've been babbling, so it's time to release y'all so I can start getting ready for bed. Y'all, have a nice week.